What's up, fellow journeyers? So today we're hoping to make our case for why you should not love Airstreams, but then make a case for why you should love Airstreams, and then why you shouldn't and why you should, and it's just a real complicated mess of a relationship. Yeah, so
it's complicated.
It's complicated.
Isn't that what it says on Facebook?
Yes, it's complicated. So obviously, we've gone and you can go and do some awesome things and go some awesome places in an Airstream, and we've been going places in our Airstream for almost 3 years.
That's crazy.
It is.
Almost 3 years of living in our Airstream.
That's a long relationship.
It is.
It's been complicated, but it's been a long, loving relationship. I think that's made us love it more actually over the long term. Even though we love our Airstream and we love where we've been and what we've done with the Airstream, there are some things about it that are tough. They're different. And maybe you've been wondering about Airstreams as well, and we just want to be honest with you guys. It's not all roses. It's not all gravy. It's not all, people say gravy.
I don't know.
There's some sort of saying with gravy.
I think we're old.
Okay, forget that. All right. So we're going to share some downsides, some things that maybe aren't too great about Airstreams, and then we're going to share some upsides, some things that we absolutely love about our Airstream. One big downside, let's just get the obvious out of the way. Airstreams are expensive. Like, if you go online, RV Trader, start searching for a travel trailer around 30 feet, you're going to see anything from $15,000 to $30,000 for a typical travel trailer, probably with slides. Versus if you start looking at Airstreams, especially in the 30-foot range, you're going to start seeing probably not even 40, but like 60, 80, $120,000.
When we first started looking into the RV lifestyle, Airstreams were our first love. They were what drew our attention to the RV lifestyle, and we just fell in love with them automatically, and we started looking at Airstreams, and then we started seeing the price of them, and we thought, oh,
nope.
You know, that's probably not for us, and then we didn't know if it would work for our family situation. So with that and the price, we thought, oh, well, we can't do an Airstream. But over time, like, we just kept coming back to them, and we needed to scratch that itch.
It's just a complicated relationship. We always talk about it's that guy, girl, whatever that you want to date and you know you shouldn't, and you got to get it out of your system. So
another downside of the Airstreams are most of them don't have any slides. So that was another thing when we started looking at RVs, and we thought, oh, well, that really limits our space without any slides. Yeah. Everything has slides in it.
Yeah, it's not like 1990. Yeah, there is one that has a slide, but for the most part, you want an Airstream, you're probably not going to have a slide. You know, something else when you look at an Airstream that could be a downside, and has been a downside a little bit, when you see them, they're actually lower to the ground, definitely than a fifth wheel. Even a typical travel trailer, they're lower to the ground, which means you might drag. You got to watch where you're going. We've actually taken, maybe you come in a gas station a certain way because you know there's a rut going on, or driveways. It's something you got to pay attention to. That could be a downside too.
When it comes to Airstreams, storage can be pretty limited. I mean, if you look at them, they're beautiful because she's got all these curves in all the right places. They're just really beautiful, but those curves take away like a third of your storage. All the cabinets, it's kind of like an airplane, kind of. So
yeah.
It kind of...
Yeah, you look at you walk in an airplane, you think there's tons of spots and you can't even like...
Yeah.
It's the same thing in an Airstream.
So it's kind of like when you open that cabinet, it's curved, so a third of your storage is gone.
Nobody probably ever said they bought an Airstream for the massive amount of storage. And when you get on the outside, there's some stuff too, like you got the aluminum. Now the aluminum's beautiful, but it takes some upkeep. Not as much upkeep maybe as we expected as far as like washing and polishing. We even had people comment like, wow, what do you do to keep it so clean? Like, yeah, it's been like months since we washed and waxed this thing. Big thing though is like when you're driving around, like if there's no shoulder on the road, you got to watch for things. We're going through campgrounds. I can't say how many times that I've, you know, had Marissa hold back branches and stuff like that to make sure we're not scratching it as we drive around. We do get some looks.
Well, we've tried to take
You look a
really
little prissy.
You do, but we've tried to take really good care of it because it is kind of sensitive on the aluminum on the outside, but that's what makes it like super shiny and pretty.
So you've got all these downsides. There's probably some others, and maybe at this point you're thinking, yeah, I don't want to get anywhere near this expensive, prissy, can't touch it, no storage, you know, RV. Like, why would I do that? But it's because of all the upsides. Like, there are some upsides, and actually the upsides, we're going to take like all the downsides and flip that around. So they are expensive. That was the first downside. But the upside is they hold their value. So we bought this, it's a 2008, about 3 years ago. And in 3 years, from what I can tell, it's held its value, if not gone up in value just a little. I'm not saying buy an Airstream because it always goes up in value, like, no. But from what we bought a few years ago, this one's done really well. Little to no depreciation on it.
Which is crazy because RVs, that's typically not the case. Usually you're going to lose some value in RVs. They kind of plummet.
I think especially if you buy used, there's not nearly as much of a plummet as far as the price, even though they can be expensive right off the bat. One of the downsides, no slides, but the upside is because you have no slides, so much flexibility with the Airstream.
It just made travel so much easier. We could pull into a camp spot and not have to worry about, will the slide come out here? Will it come out there? Are we going to hit that tree? You know, it was just super simple. If we could fit in the spot, we were golden. Our space never changed. When we would boondock in a Walmart parking lot or wherever we were, we didn't have to worry about, well, we have to make sure we're level to get the slides out so that we can get in our rig.
You know, and not to mention the places we could go with it. Now, granted, any 30-foot travel trailer could probably go some of the places we went, but without the slides, it made it even easier to get into those places. You know, Joshua Tree was awesome. That was pretty tight. We got in there.
This is why we wanted to stay in the park. Just look at this. I mean, it's spectacular. This is our backyard, so that's really cool.
We got in a place that we didn't know until we got to the top, but it was actually was it Aguirre campground, something like that. And they were like, yeah, this is for 23 feet or less. So, I mean, lots of places we've been with this, because it doesn't have the slides, because of the length, all that is actually turned into a pro instead of a con. One
of the things that drew us to Airstreams was the engineering, how simple it was and how everything was manual. I know for some of you that might sound crazy, but...
You walk in, you're like, where's the button for the on?
Yeah. But for us, that was just less stress. It was less things to break, and we really liked the manual nature of, you know, the jacks and the awning and the steps, and it just made everything simple.
So although it can be seen as a downside for the Airstream to be so low to the ground, it actually does make it more aerodynamic, easier to drive. As a matter of fact, I've got a clip of Marissa doing a test drive with our Airstream just to show how aerodynamic this is.
As you can see, the Airstream safely follows every movement of the tow car. Even on the loose dirt track at speeds of 50 miles an hour, you can see how easily the Airstream follows perfectly. An Airstream is made to go anywhere your car can go. We've engineered it that way.
I'm a professional, so don't try this at home.
Yeah, and you may not be able to tell. I mean, she's got the helmet on. I mean, 100% Marissa. I don't know where we got that car either, but she did a great job. There is a downside of the lack of storage. The upside of that, Yeah, I don't know if this is an exact upside because everybody wants more storage. But the way we got more storage, and you could do this with a truck with a camper on top, or like we did with the diesel van, tons of storage in our van that we tow this with.
We kept our bikes, we kept the generator, boxes of Hensley's toys. We would rotate them in and out.
What's under there?
Is it sandwiches?
Yeah, there's sandwiches and all kinds of toys. Play-Doh stuff, arts and crafts, got books.
Even though it does limit your storage some, that was a little intimidating in the beginning. It really does help keep your lifestyle minimal. Like, I had to intentionally think about everything we would bring in and bring out, and that just really was helpful to me and was a weight lifted off my shoulders. I mean, sometimes it can get, you know, a little bit stressful because I'm a stuff person. Nathan, it's a little bit easier for him, but it was just a very freeing experience living very minimally.
Well, it was a bit of a shock when we went from our 39-foot motorhome into the 30-foot Airstream.
We went with these because we are hoping that we're able to fit more clothing in the closet because they're super thin and not as thick and bulky as these plastic ones.
Look at that.
Like a glove.
Yeah. You won't know what to do with all this room, babe.
I could find something to do with it.
Marissa was a little bit concerned, you know, because we probably downsized anywhere from a third to half of our stuff during that process. But at the same time, it forced us to think more about what do we really need. And then the last downside was that you have to baby the aluminum. And that's okay. Because they're really pretty. Did guys say pretty? I just said pretty.
Guys say pretty.
I said pretty, okay. They're really pretty. We walk around campgrounds, we look, I mean, it's still, from day one, we'd say, oh, there's an Airstream, it'd catch our eye. And even with the Airstream going down the road, we're like, oh, there's an Airstream. So there's just something about the way they look. It's worth it to baby the aluminum.
Well, they're just nostalgic. I mean, they've been around since when the 1940s, 50s.
Yeah.
They're just classic, and it just, to me, when I think of camping, that was just like what come to my mind, was always seeing Airstreams being parked in like really cool places.
So I think sometimes, you know, the price and some of these negatives might be a turn off. And yeah, sometimes you are paying a little bit more for the brand, but you take this combination of the engineering and the thought and some of the stuff. Decades they've done the door this way, or decades they've done the windows this way, and you start to appreciate some of the history there and some of the nostalgia there and some of those things. You know, when they see our 2008, maybe if you really know your stuff, you can tell if it's a 2008 or 2018. But from a distance, or from even pretty close up, I mean, they're very similar in build as well.
We've made some really incredible family memories during
a lot of puddles in a lot of different states.
I know. It becomes almost like a member of your family. I mean, it travels with you. It's your vessel. We are never really without it. You know, it's just it's not like we leave and are gone all day, you know, and just come home at night and veg out and eat dinner and sleep in it. I mean, we take it everywhere with us, and I don't know, it's definitely become like a member of the LJMJ family for sure, and it's going to be very hard saying goodbye, but I don't think our Airstream days are over.
No.
This is just a temporary break, maybe. It's not you, it's me kind of thing, but
a lot of relationship analogies here, I think.
I think you have to know what season of life you're in and where you're at in your travels. When you're choosing an RV, knowing what your travel style is going to be. And the Airstream works for a very adventurous, flexible travel style for us. And I love that flexibility. I didn't have to have tons of reservations made and know every little stop and gas station we're stopping at. But this is starting year 5 for our family, and we just had to be honest with our travel style and say, okay, I think we're going to slow down a little bit. We're going to start homeschooling Hensley this year, and we're just kind of ready to stretch our legs.
So there's some upsides, some downsides to owning an Airstream. I hope we've kind of given a balance of the two. And if you guys have got like any questions, comments, things you just want to know, or if you've got somebody, you know, if you need to like have somebody test drive your RV, I know somebody for that, a real pro.
I'm available.
Up to 50 miles an hour on a dirt track. For the most part, YouTube has disabled our comments on YouTube, but we still got Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, head to any of those places. We'll be hanging out, ready to interact with you guys.
Do you love Airstream, Tinsley? You do? What's your favorite place we've been in the Airstream?
Alaska.
Is JJ our little Alaskan souvenir?
Yeah.
You are! Yay.
Hope you guys enjoy the upsides and downsides of Airstreams. Until next time, we will
Catch you guys later. And have fun. Click the YouTube button.
don't forget that YouTube button. Catch you guys later.